Hey, listeners. My name is Elisha, the founder of the Witnesses podcast. It's so beautiful to have you listening to our podcast. And I want you to know something that means a whole lot to me. Thank you for tuning in. And one thing I love to tell all of our listeners is it's not just about you listening, but listening to understand. Understanding is the most important thing. So important. So, you have to listen, learn, and practice. Thank you so very much and happy listening.
Hi, Tim. It's so nice to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
Elijah, I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on the show, and I appreciate the listeners tuning in to hopefully get some goodness to improve their lives.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that, because um, oftentimes I love to talk about the essence of this show, which is to invite amazing guests like Tim to come talk to us about the triumphant stories, because we believe that in our audience there might be some people who are stuck up in a situation that Tim came out of triumphantly. So by those people getting to listening to you speak, they might actually pick some information from your words, the ones you'll be saying here today, which might actually lead to their transformation. So the show is basically to cause transformation into the lives of the audience. Alright, team. So within the next few minutes, let us get started with your story, the challenges that you faced, and how you overcame them. And afterwards, I've got some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Tim, over to you.
Okay, so my story started. I grew up in Oregon, Northeast Oregon, on a small cattle and hay farm. Uh, kind of a redneck. Hunting and fishing was part of the deal. I played baseball at a high level. I played baseball for like over 30 years. Really enjoyed that. Um, was really healthy. I felt great. Was an athlete. But when I got out of baseball, and was doing it more of like weekend warrior stuff, and I got, wife and kids and a house, and I was a mortgage professional, and then I finally became a financial advisor. I found myself at age 37, 42 pounds overweight, low energy, mental fog, um, very scared about my health. I had developed eczema on my knee, which got larger and larger and larger every year. It was crack and bleed, and then it got on my elbows, and those were cracking and bleeding, and my shirts were sticking to my elbows. And as I was on a dry erase board doing presentations for my financial clients, they would see, "Hey, Tim, there's your elbow's bleeding." So I switched over to black shirts, and dark blue. And but it was still very painful because sometimes I had to go home and like take a shower with my shirts on to get them off, just because it was so painful. And then it got worse, and then I started getting acid reflux, and I was eating Tums and Rolaids 24/7 because I had really bad heartburn, indigestion, and it was like constantly gnawing at me. Then it got worse. Then I started pooping blood rectally. I had red blood from rectal tears, and then I also had a dark red blood from internal bleeding. That went on for 2.5 years. Then on a vacation down to Peru with my wife, she was from Lima, Peru, with her father, who was a medical doctor. We went to northern Peru to a place called Tumbes, and we're on a private beach, and just it's out in the middle of literally nowhere, enjoying ourselves. And I got doubled up over in pain after a few days, and had to be basically driven through the middle of the night for 6 hours to the next closest hospital because we missed a plane flight out of there because there's only one a day by 20 minutes, which sucks. And then they doped me up, and then I was basically life flighted on a commercial airline. Nobody knew that I was bad, but her dad, the doctor, sat right next to me the whole time, and he was on the phone coordinating the OR at his hospital back in Lima. And I got off of that deal and went right into surgery, and spent the rest of my vacation in recovery. And then my wife wheelchaired me back into the United States. So, as you can imagine, a lot of fear around all that. I was glad to be alive. I was very thankful for the medical system, for trauma, crisis care. They were able to save my life. But as far as healing the problems that were starting all this at the root, and getting that solved permanently for me. They had completely failed me, and I was just never taught how to take care of my body. My parents really didn't know. I just lost my mother to cancer last week. That was very difficult. She literally died in my arms. I heard her take her last breath. And so, life is short. We have to. We've been given a very special gift, and I've learned that I want to make the most of it. But I still didn't know what to do back then with my health. So then a buddy of mine, Charles, got cancer, and you know, at that point, I'd lost my aunt to cancer. I'd lost my grandma to cancer. I lost a buddy of mine on my baseball team, Clay Mahoy, to cancer. And now my buddy Charles has got cancer. So I thought I was going to lose another friend. He decided that we were going to go to a detox clinic in Florida called Hippocrates Wellness Center. And he just asked me to go to support him. I had literally no idea what I was getting into. So I went there. And on day one, my acid reflux was gone. And by day 3, I was kind of going through a little bit of a detox symptoms. Wasn't kind of irritable. I kind of had a metallic taste coming out of my tongue, I guess, as heavy metals were exiting my body. I just was tired. But then I woke up the next day, I think it was on Thursday, and I felt like I was completely reborn. My energy was surging through oh man, it was awesome. It was like literally being reborn. I was like, oh my God. I looked at Charles. I'm like, dude, do you have as much energy as I do? Do you feel as good as I do? He's like, yeah. I said, I feel like I'm 18. I'm like, my mental clarity, I feel sharp as a tack, and my energy. And I was like, wow. We've discovered the fountain of youth. This is amazing. And he's like, yeah, it's, I can't believe how good I feel. Now, he still had cancer, but he just kept improving and improving. And in a little over 2.5 years, he'd healed himself naturally. No chemo, no surgery, nothing. Right in front of my face. I helped him and did it with him. And within 60 days of coming home and changing my life and my habits and my patterns, I had lost all the weight, 42 pounds. The eczema on both of my elbows and the other skin issue on my shoulder was completely gone. It took about 8 months for that large patch of eczema on my knee to go away, because it's just been there for years. And I completely transformed my entire life. And so that led me more into my spiritual path. And I've literally walked away from being a financial advisor to being a health advisor. After my little brother's death, he was killed in a mountain biking accident. And so that's when I really decided that, life is short. I need to do what I love. And I really love telling people about sprouts, living foods, nutrition, detoxification, green juices, drinking a couple green juices a day. I mean, I never miss on that. Flooded my body with nutrition. So there's just these basic things that sound so simple, but most people aren't doing them. And I was one of them. So when I started practicing these things and I got results, and all of a sudden people started asking me questions because I lost the weight so fast and my skin issues disappeared that a lot of people started coming to my home for classes, and I had over 5,500 people to my home for these detoxification, nutrition, living food, juicing classes. And so I got to experience a lot of other people's stories and see what difficulties and struggles they were going through. And, and I tried my best to help them move through that to heal themselves, and eventually became a health coach and started my company, Chemical Free Body, actually producing our own products so that I could trust what was inside of them, because that whole industry is really hard to not find. I mean, 95+% of the time your supplements have something in them that you don't want. And so that's what I'm doing today. We're coaching, and we are trying to help people with high quality products, because it seems like quality is disappearing today with these big corporations taking over everything.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, let us dive into the questions, team. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, can you talk to us about toxic food versus food as medicine?
Okay. Well, that's really simple. Toxic food versus food as medicine. Well, let's just understand that our bodies are nature. Okay. And once you understand that, and you're not just like, oh yeah, I'm nature. Because some people are like, what do you mean I'm nature? Well, what's your body mostly made of? It's water. Okay. Where do you find that? nature, rivers, creeks, ponds, that kind of stuff. It's in the rain. It's dew that, that condenses and on like flowers and leaves and grass in the morning. So water's everywhere. It's the life force, it's the blood of life. We're mostly made of water. We're nature. There's one example. The bacterium in your gut. People probably know about probiotics, right? These are they're small bacterium. And this gut flora fauna is that these same microorganisms are the same ones that are supposed to be in our soil, many of them. So think about that. Your gut has the same bacterium in it as the soil. There should be, right? So there's another thing that you are nature. And your bones are made of what? Minerals. Where do you get minerals? Again, in the soil. So we are nature. And once we understand that, life becomes very easy when it comes to what should we eat. So we want to get our food from nature. We want it to be as fresh as possible. One thing that's a little odd is that, I grew up and pretty much on the processed food, all cooked diet, except for, we had a big garden. So we had some really good fresh food, but then we had a lot of processed frozen stuff as well, because it's convenient and it's easy. But it's not. It's not convenient and easy when you have chemotherapy and your hair's falling out, or you've got fibromyalgia and you're in pain all the time, and or you've got arthritis, or you've got neuropathy in your feet and your feet hurt, and you start getting your toes cut off, or you go blind. This stuff is not easy. All right. So nature is the solution. So food is medicine is basically what nature makes. And the closer you can get to literally picking the food and eating it, the healthier you're going to be. And the more medicine is going to be delivered. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said, "Let thy food be thy medicine, and thy medicine be thy food." It's pretty clear in that statement. Most people know that statement. He actually said another one too. He said, "He who is not his own doctor is a fool. He who is not his own doctor is a fool." So we don't want to be fools, because I was a big fool running around because I didn't have the education. But once I got the education, I started taking action on it. One of the things I started taking action on was understanding that my food is medicine. And the fresher the food I can get, and the higher quality soil it's grown in, and the higher quality seeds, and the good inputs, good clean water, no pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, larvicides, any of that crap, and no processing, that's where you're going to get medicine. See, because most people know about like protein, carbs, fats, vitamins, minerals, trace minerals. Okay, that's great. But there's other things: hormones, oxygen, phytochemicals, enzymes. Hormones, as an example, help your cells to communicate. Those are actually in living foods. So when you pick a food and eat it on the spot, or eat something like a sprout, you're actually getting hormones to help your cells communicate. Well, the better the communication is, the better your body's going to run, the longer you're going to live, and the higher quality of your life. Oxygen is literally in the food. Oxygen is another thing that's like air. It's our number one fuel source. Hold your breath and see how long you last without it. It's about 4 to 7 minutes, and we die without oxygen. It's the byproduct of plants. And plants breathe in carbon dioxide, and then they basically breathe out oxygen. Or we do the reverse. So we're like ants and aphids with plants. We need them, they need us. It's very awesome. Phytochemicals. I'll give you an example. 70,000 phytochemicals or plant chemicals were discovered at Oregon State University, one of the top phytochemical research places. That's out here in Oregon, actually. And this was just in wheatgrass. They were studying wheatgrass. A couple years later, they were up to counting 74,000 plant chemicals, phytonutrients, phytochemicals that can heal and reverse disease. That's just in wheatgrass. It's just one little plant, right? And then you've got enzymes, which are the catalysts of life. They're like the electrons. This is like the things that charge up your batteries, right? Your cells. These are in living foods. That's why I'm a big proponent of sprouts and green juices, is to get this stuff into us. I can take a handful of sunflower sprouts as an example. One handful of that is equivalent to 30 handfuls of fresh cut kale out of your garden, eaten immediately. Think about that. It's 30 times more nutritious than a fresh picked vegetable. It's unbelievable. So if you're looking to save time, you want to maximize your life, sprouts are smart, because you eat a little bit is a ton of nutrition. It's a powerful medicine. And some of these things like wheatgrass can be juiced, as an example, and you can drink it. You can insufflate them rectally for healing. You can also create poultices with them and put them on the body for sunburns, cuts, scrapes, cancer, all kinds of stuff. So that's the food as medicine component. Now, the other side is the food is toxic. It's killing you slowly or maybe faster. This is processed foods. These are foods that are grown in these soils that have been farmed and overfarmed and overfarmed and overfarmed and sprayed with chemical fertilizers and pesticides and fungicides and herbicides and larvicides and chemical fertilizers. You know, 1964, there was a university that tested the soil microbiome, all these beneficial bacterium, and their job is to actually transport the nutrients from the soil into the root system of the plant. And they weighed 1 acre's worth of these bacterium out of, and it was 2,000 pounds of bacterium was the weight in 1 acre of soil. 40 years later, they tested an acre of soil. Guess how much they found? They found only 100 pounds of bacterium, and some of those bacterium were now genetically modified that had been made in a lab. So that is a massive drop in soil ecology and soil quality. And also, and the fulvics and humics, which are another substance that also do transportation, they're pretty much gone from the soil, right? People can go look at this stuff like around, I think it was around the 30s. A lot of people in the United States were getting these huge goiters in their neck, like these great big masses were growing. And that was from iodine deficiencies because the iodine had been farmed out of the soil. So they started making iodized salt. They put just enough to get in there so the goiters would kind of go away, but not enough to get you what you need. Okay. So, you know, there's things that have high amounts of iodine in it, like kelp, sea vegetable, and dulse, which is another sea vegetable. These are ways that like I supplement today as an example. So if your food's grown in weak, deficient soil and you eat that chemical sprayed soil, you're going to be weak, deficient, full of chemicals. You know, the other option is like, let's say that it's all grown, you know, organic or whatever and all that, but then it goes through processing where they heat it, cook it, you know, they do other things to it. It denatures the food. So again, the least processed food actually kills 4,300 people a day in the United States. 4,300 deaths a day. That's a 9/11 event every day and a half. 2,996 people died in 9/11, and most people know where they were and what happened that big day. It was like a big deal and tragic. Well, it's like shit. Every day and a half we're having a 9/11 from processed food that we willingly walk into these grocery stores and we pay for the poison. We pay for death. We're literally paying to kill ourselves. But there's not an awareness of this because people just don't know and they're busy and they're like, well, I think everything's all fine and dandy. But look around. I mean, my God. Half of us are going to die of cancer. The other half die of heart disease, COPD, diabetes, iatrogenics, which is death by doctor, is anywhere from third to first on the list, but it's never talked about. You know, misdiagnosis and stuff. So the whole system is like pretty much toast. And the solution is like it's a broken, failed system. We have to take responsibility for our health, and we have to start finding fresh food. And so I know it's tough on the inner cities, but you can order seeds, have them delivered, and you can start sprouting right on your countertop. Fenugreek, mung beans, lentils, you can have those ready in 2.5 days in your home, and they're very nutritious foods. You can sprout them on glass jars with no dirt, no soil at all, and those are ready to go. Just make sure you get good sources. So that is toxic food versus food as medicine.
Oh, Tim, I love how you explain the differences. So educating. Okay, and you've literally answered most of my questions. All right, so in conclusion, Tim, let's say there is one piece of advice you like to give to the audience. What would that be? And let's say there are someone's listening who felt like, oh man, Tim is actually talking to me. I would love to reach out to him, learn more about what he's doing and all of that. How can that be possible?
Okay. So, you know, usually the first thing, it's like, you know, I'm actually writing what we call an indoctrination sequence right now, and I'm redoing it. It's for when people are new and they come to our company and they purchase a product, let's say, like they buy our green juice formula or whatever. It's called Green 85. Or maybe they get our gut detox or our toxin detox or our probiotics or whatever, right? So the first email is the first thing I'm going to share with you. It's like you have to understand how profound or how valuable you are. And that's the first thing, is really understanding that creation does not make mistakes. And if you are here, that there's no way it's a mistake. You've been granted life. And for as long as you have the ability to breathe, what are you doing with that life? And a lot of times when people get confused, maybe you're struggling with relationships, or you're struggling with finances, or your career path, or your spiritual path, or your health, whatever. My way was like, I just started focusing on my health. I focused on my health because I knew this was the vehicle that carried my brain, that carried my heart, my limbs, and the body that was going to interact with people in a relationship and stuff like that. And I started cleaning up my body. I looked at my body like a vehicle. And if the vehicle ain't running right and it's got a check engine light on it, you take it into the shop. And so I learned how to become my own mechanic. How do I take care of my body? And I use nature. So I just stopped putting in all the crap, the toxins, the chemicals, all this stuff. I stopped buying processed foods, and I started putting in raw foods. I started cooking less, eating more fresher foods, and I started detoxing and doing these things. And I started cleaning up the body and flooding the body with lots of water, getting outside nature and not walks, and hanging around with people that support me. So I started doing all these different things. And I built up like more energy on a cellular level because I got rid of all this toxins and crap. And as I did that, I lost weight. So I became more mobile and more flexible, but not just with my body. And I did yoga too. Like I started getting into yoga. I changed. I mean, I completely changed who I was. I became a different, better version of myself. I went from this egocentric, redneck, closed-minded, overweight, sick guy that used to be really great in the back in the day in sports to, I got my health back. I'm 50. I'll be 51 this year, coming up in June of 2024. And I just took my 23-year-old up trail running and I outran him. That's pretty cool. And I'm like, yes. And like when I was 37, there's no way I could have done that. He would have smoked me. He would have absolutely smoked me. I couldn't even run around a track once. Not literally doing trail running up switchbacks on a hillside for 3-4 miles, So the message is, make your health a priority. Make your health a priority. Become your own doctor. Learn how to self-heal. Learn how to take care of this vehicle. And when you do that, you'll clean things up. The cells will start vibrating at a higher frequency, and you'll have this newfound energy inside of you to make more change. And literally what happened was, as I cleaned up my body and I got my cells vibrating at such a high level, I literally tapped in like a radio. I was like changing frequencies like on a radio station, and all of a sudden I tapped more into God, into the creator. I'm like, oh, what's this all about? And so that led me from 2011 to finally in 2018, where I finally 7 years later discovered my new path in my spiritual path. And boy, then I really blew open my life and things, and the synchronicities started really happening. So for me, that's where I started, man. I started by actually I got lucky because I just went along to help a friend. So I don't know if I would have done it for myself because I had such terrible belief systems around myself and lack of self-worth. So you're obviously learning, just knowing that creation doesn't make mistakes and that you're worthy. And then step 2 is like, now that we got this understood, let's make our life and our health a priority. Let's start with that. And I promise you, if you get your body vibrating at a higher level and you start feeling better, you're going to improve your relationships. You're going to improve your career. You're going to improve your spiritual path. Everything in your life is going to get better because it's connected to what? It's connected to you. Now, if you guys want to reach out to me, probably the best way, we're on as our website at chemicalfreebody.com. That's chemicalfreebody.com. We're also on, I think, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, believe it or not, a little bit, and soon to be YouTube again. But our website's the best place. We have a lot of. I have a podcast that I've got over 200 episodes out called The Health Hero Show. We just changed it to Tim James Unleashed. So it's either The Health Hero Show or Tim James Unleashed. And a lot of free stuff. We give away I do a lot of education. I have an inner circle coaching community that I lead every week. And it's a paid for platform. But the podcast, a lot of free information. And and we have really high quality doctor formulated products. And that's a whole nother topic, man. It's like the whole supplements and detox stuff. It's like, we're really losing the quality of that stuff. So I don't compromise in quality, and because I think that's important today, especially for the working class people. I think we're losing that. So that's how people find us. And the more you stick around, the more you'll find out I don't compromise for anybody or anything. I always want to do what's best.
I love that. I really do. Okay, man. Thank you so very much. So that's going to be the end of the show, Tim. Thank you for your time, and thank you for honoring the invite. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you for tuning in to this incredible episode. Your support means the world to us, and we truly value you. We look forward to having you join us for the next episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Your feedback is greatly appreciated.